Man, I really thought Nebraska was going to win. I should know better at this point, shouldn't I? Great time to subscribe to the channel. Big Ten content every single day. Always mash the like button to spread the word of Big Ten Ted. How often do we see this? How often do we see Nebraska go out, they come out strong, they come out looking good, they get a lead, and they can't put together a complete game, and they can't put together a four-quarter game. Here we are yet again. I said in my preview, Wisconsin, you might be down in the third quarter. I didn't think they'd be down by 11 points going into the fourth quarter, but you might be down. You just got to keep on going. You got to keep on going. Nick Herbig goes out with a targeting call. You got to keep on going. You got to keep on going. Braylon Allen, your workhorse in the backfield, goes out with an injury. Keep on going. Hand it to Ches Malusi. Hand it to Isaac Garendo. Just keep on going. Because when you play the Nebraska Cornhuskers, that's all you got to do. You got to keep on going. I mean, I get there's a difference between the Mickey Joseph teams and the Scott Frost teams, and I'll get to that here later in this reaction video. But man, sometimes when you're playing the Nebraska Cornhuskers, you just got to keep on going because they'll find a way for their batteries to run out. And the Energizer Bunny will stop beating that drum, and Nebraska will find a way to stall out on offense. Nebraska will find a way to wear down on defense because that's exactly what you needed to do. Okay, you look back to that Minnesota game where Nebraska came out. They were looking good. And then Minnesota just kept on going at them and kept on going at them and kept on going at them. And although in the first half it didn't look great for Minnesota, the second half turned around. Same thing happened for Wisconsin. Okay, second half they came out and says, all right, we can't win this game if we let Graham Mertz throw the football. Like, that's it. I'll get to that as well later in this video. We got to keep on running the football. We might be behind by double digits. We might be behind. But if our defense continues to play how they are, and I want to give a major shout out, major props to Keanu Benton. We knew he was going to be a good player coming into this season, but what he's been able to do over these last couple of weeks, really ever since Jim Leonhard has become the head coach, I think really has been the flip for Keanu Benton on this defensive line. He is a man on that D-line. He is the leader of that core group, and he really clogs up the middle, gets into the backfield, and makes things extremely difficult for the offense. And when you have a team in Nebraska where your running game isn't great, yeah, you got a talented guy back there in Anthony Grant, but this offensive line is not good. We saw it all afternoon long. Once again, said in my preview, you needed to protect Casey Thompson. They did an okay job, but for the most part, Wisconsin was able to do what they wanted to do in terms of the pass rush, in terms of getting on the other side of that offensive line. It was this Wisconsin defense that really won this football game. It was the Wisconsin defense and the perseverance on offense in the second half where they just kept on going like the Energizer Bunny that actually keeps beating that drum and actually keeps going and that stays charged. But this defense, man, when Nick Herbig went out, I thought that was a major loss. But how this defense rallied together, and you got to give credit to Wisconsin. But man, what Nebraska has done game after game and how they come out, they look strong, but they just can't stick with something. It doesn't matter who you have at quarterback, doesn't matter who you have in this game, right? Nebraska had a chance to win this football game. Nebraska, just like Illinois against Michigan, Nebraska gets one more score on the board and they're winners. But they just couldn't do it. You can't. Nebraska, pretty much ever since Scott Frost has been head coach, they have not played maybe one 60-minute four-quarter game. You couldn't do it against North Dakota. You sure couldn't do it against the Wisconsin Badgers. There's no doubt about that. But I'm kind of ripping on Nebraska a little bit. I want to give them a little bit of credit. I want to give Bill Busch a ton of credit because I think there should be some guys when the coach gets turned over at Nebraska, there should be some guys that stay. And I think there's an argument to be made for Bill Busch right now. What he's done improving this defense. I know Wisconsin isn't great. I know they're not explosive on offense. But what he's been able to do from a defensive standpoint and improving this team, especially improving on how Nebraska is playing up front, he deserves at least an opportunity to stay on this coaching staff. And if that doesn't happen, he deserves an opportunity to maybe be a defensive coordinator elsewhere because I believe he's proven that if he were the defensive coordinator all season long, things would be a lot different. I think the main thing I take away for Wisconsin, they didn't play a great game. Okay, Graham Mertz is still a liability at quarterback. Like, that was kind of some of the notes I made here. He continues to hold back this Wisconsin offense. And it's almost hard for me to imagine with a potential new coach coming in, whether it's Jim Leonhard or somebody else, you got to think that they might be looking in the transfer portal for a replacement, because how long, what has it been, 2 years, 3 years that we've been doing this with Graham Mertz now, and he really hasn't improved since his first year as a starter. Okay, how much more do Wisconsin fans have to kind of go through before we know, okay, yeah, Graham Mertz ain't the guy. We got this thing called the transfer portal where we can go out and we can get a quarterback. Wisconsin might have to look at that, because once you got a really good talent back there in Braylon Allen, and Braylon Allen hopefully will be back next season. And you got to get, and it might depend on if you improve other parts of the team, if Braylon Allen will be back. I just think Graham Mertz's days are numbered in Madison, Wisconsin. He hasn't done enough. Maybe one of the bigger recruiting busts we've seen in the Big Ten. 4-star guy out of Kansas, really thought he would be one of the best, if not the best, quarterback recruit and develop into the best quarterback that Wisconsin has had pretty much ever since Russell Wilson has been there. Wisconsin is bowl eligible, and that is big. That is big for Jim Leonhard. I don't think this is a game where Jim Leonhard should be the head coach. He shouldn't be named the permanent head coach right now. If anything, this performance may set him back a little bit. He said it in his press conferences, the more time that goes by, the more he gets nervous, the more he gets anxious, the more these recruits and these potential returning players get anxious. We're in a really kind of a weird bridge type of time for Wisconsin. But they did what they needed to do. If they would have lost to Nebraska, with Minnesota coming up, that might have cost them a bowl game. I want to hear what you guys think about this matchup. Do you think Jim Leonhard is going to be the permanent head coach? Does this set him back a little bit? And same old for Nebraska, right? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm Big Ten Ted, and we will see you in the next one.